We are going to start by drafting our basic body pattern. Hi, I'm Sarah, and on today's video we are going to be learning how to draft a funnel corset pattern. If that's something you're interested in, come with me and let's get started. Also, do not forget to like, subscribe and leave a comment down below. Thank you. So like I said earlier, we are going to be drafting our basic body pattern first. That's the base of everything. And if you do not know how to draft a basic body pattern, I actually have a tutorial up on the channel showing you a step-by-step process of how to do so. And in this case, we are going to be adding a 2 inches length to what we have because I'm going to be adding a 2 inches dart on the side of the bust. That's just information I thought you should know. The next thing we're going to do is get our apex line and just roll it all the way from the bust line, like you see me doing here, down to the full length. And on the shoulder part here, we're going to divide the shoulder measurement, what we have, by 2. And that is going to be what we have for the apex line at the shoulder part, and then we're going to connect that line from that point to meet the apex line at the bust line. If you do not understand what I'm saying, please watch what I just said. Thank you. So now that we have this in check, we're going to go ahead and create our first dart leg. So at the waistline area, I'm going to go out on both sides by 1/2 inch. Okay, and on the bust line I'm going to be coming down by 1 inch. At the full length line I'm going to be coming up by 3.5. You can do 4 if you want, it's your choice. I'm going to go ahead and use my ruler to make a line across so I know where my darts are stopping, and then I'm going to go ahead and use my straight rule again to create my dart legs. Now that we have that, we're going to go ahead and create another dart at the top part here. So we're going to go out by 1/2 inch on both sides and then connect it using our curved roll. You're going to connect it all the way to the bust line. The next thing we're going to do is at this dart leg here, I'm going out by 1/4 inch, but because I'm going to be using this first dart leg that we already have, I'm just going to be marking out 1 inch from the dart leg. And if you go ahead to measure that on your own, you see that you have 2.5 inch of dart. I'm just going to use my curved drill to connect lines from the bust line down to the 1 inch that we already have, and I'm just going to go ahead to extend it all the way to the bottom part, but you have to make sure that it is 1 inch as well. The next thing we're going to do is go ahead and measure from our new chest line down by 2.5 inch, and I'm going to use my curved rule to make a curve from the new chest line down to the 2.5 inch that we already have, just to give this a sweetheart neck. And we're going to do the same for this other part. The next thing we're going to do, like I always say, one part is bigger than the other. So let's say for instance this is bigger, the side facing towards the side the bustier part facing towards the side is bigger than the bustier part facing towards the center by 1/4 inch. So you want to go ahead and add 1/4 inch to the part facing towards the center and then make your curve. Cancel the old one because you're not going to be needing that anymore. You need to do this because you might end up cutting the wrong thing. Okay, so on this part now, the bust part, the bust line, we're going to go down by 2 inches. And on here I'm going to be measuring out my waist measurement divided by 4. I'm going to start measuring with the dart inside, which is 1 inch. Remember, half and half, 1. So I'm going to put that down, and I'll use my ruler, actually my curved rule, the bigger one, to make my curves. And then I'll go over on the full length line and do my hip measurements divided by 4, and I'm just going to rule my lines across. You would notice that I have not added any sewing allowance whatsoever. That's because we're making a corset. That's number 1. Number 2, I still have a lot to work on, so I'm not going to be adding a sewing allowance just yet. So we're going to go ahead and close this dart. Because this is a bustier, we're going to be cutting from the bust line and the top line, the shoulder line. You get this, right? And then we're just going to go ahead and close it and use our masking tape. I use a masking tape. You can go ahead and use a transparent tape to close yours. So now we're going to go ahead and measure what we have in the center and put it out back, right? So whatever you have on the center, just go ahead and put it out back. And on the top line here where we have our armhole curve, we're going to go ahead and go out by half an inch, and then use our curved rule to make a curved line. Now this is going to be our new armhole curve. So the next thing we're going to do now is put in the remaining measurements that we need to put. So like I did before, your waist measurement divided by 4, and then you go ahead to measure what you have on that actual dart now, which is 2.5, and then you just go ahead to put everything together. Then you go ahead to do your hip measurement divided by 4, and then you measure the dart leg, which is 2.5 inch, and then go ahead to create a hip curve from your waist to the hip line. So from this new line, I'm going to go in by 2.5 inch. You can do 2 inches, you can do 2.5 inch, and the darts that we're going to be creating here is going to help us achieve a more snatched look. So I'm going to go out on both sides by 1/4 inch. The reason why we're removing 1/4 inch and not 1/2 inch is because when you get to remove 1/4 inch on both the front and the back side, you would have removed 1 inch from both the front and the back side. But if you remove 1/2 inch on both the front and the back side, you would have removed 4 inches, which is not a good deal at all. So you remove 1/4 inch from both the front and the back. So I'm just going to go ahead and shade the parts that we don't need, and then the next thing to do will be to create the curve at the top for the funnel corset. So from the old chest line, I'm going to go down by 2.5. And then from the side of the bustier, I'm going to go in by 1/2 inch. I actually did 1/2 inch before, and I thought that 1/2 inch would be too wide, so I ended up correcting it at the end. But yeah, let's start with the 1/2 inch first. I did the 1/2 inch, and then I went ahead to connect it from that 1/2 inch to the 2.5 inches using my curved rule. Now I'm using a dotted line because I actually was trying to see if I would like it to be too wide or too loose, but I didn't end up liking it, so I ended up doing 1 inch instead. So now I've done that, and I'm just going ahead to label this center front 1, side front 1, and side front 2. Now that we have everything in check, we're going to go ahead and cut. But before you go ahead to cut, please watch how I cut so you can cut yours as well. Please don't cut any other thing out that I don't cut out just yet. Now that we have that, I'm going to go ahead and cut out what I want the bustier part to be for the inside. The next thing I'm going to do is go ahead to pin this onto the pattern paper, the new pattern paper that I intend to use to cut out the bustier part of this. So I'm going to start to pin it from the under bust, and I'm also going to do the same for the other side. Now we're going to go ahead and cut. I'm not adding any sewing allowance whatsoever. I'm just going ahead to trace this as it is onto the pattern paper, the new pattern paper. So after labeling this, I noticed that one part of it was just too basic, and I went ahead to go up by 1 inch and create a curve, and then I'm just going to go ahead and cut that part off because I don't need it. Now that we've done that part, we can now go ahead to cut out the other parts that we don't need anymore, and then cut out the dart leg for this, separating it into 3 parts. And this will be everything for the drafting. I'm sorry that I forgot to tell you that I would only be focusing on drafting the front part of the corset, which is the main part. I hope actually yours turns out really good. With that being said, please do not forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Don't forget to turn on your notification bell so you'll be notified when I post a new video. Don't forget to love yourself because I love you. Have a beautiful day or night, whichever it is you live for. Bye.